What is up, guys? It is Tony here, and today I am doing a quick tutorial. This is actually an additional tutorial for the week where I'm basically going to go ahead and explain to a lot of you guys why what I'm saying in my last tutorial is correct and what you guys are saying in the comments below is wrong. And I know I sound kind of conceited, but to be honest, it's not exactly true that you're wrong. It's just that what I was doing isn't wrong in terms of using iMovie. And I want to explain to you guys a very interesting concept about editing that I know you guys won't ever use because a lot of you guys, to be honest, don't need it because you don't do a lot of different types of videos, but it's very important for a lot of people who get into professional videography and are planning on having multiple clients to work for and other types of series besides just simply editing. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about it today, and the thing is, what it's called is workflow. Basically organizing your videography workflow, your digital workflow. And this is an important concept that a lot of people who I see on my videos nowadays, or see on YouTube in general, don't know how to do. They really just don't understand how to have an organized workflow, and because of that, it hurts their videos. You'll see videos that don't have continuity. You'll see one video with an intro, one video without an intro. You'll see one video that cuts off weird, or the sound sounds kind of off, or the coloration is wrong. And that's a big problem where when you go into Final Cut, you make an edit, you simply go in, you make a nice edit, and once you're done making that edit, you just export it and upload it. You don't watch it. You don't bring it into a post-production software and start looking at it to make sure everything's right. You just simply upload it. That's not the right thing to do. So we're going to start off here in the workflow with where everything usually starts. It starts here in Final Cut. Now, Final Cut isn't exactly where it starts entirely. It starts in your file system. Your file system is where you're going to organize your raw footage, your edited footage, and your footage that is ready to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to organize that and how I organize that. First, in YouTube is where I hold most of my raw footage and my tools. I have my editing tools here, where you can see I have 3D animations. I have Action Essentials, which is dirt and debris and all that stuff. Basically an editing pack, essentially. I also have gun sounds. I also have things I created myself, like gun symbols that I found online, and I edited them so they fit perfectly and they worked perfectly. And etc., etc. So, as you can see, that is where I get my editing tools. I also have GFX tools. I also have, in the GFX tools, yeah, I have stuff that most people I found from editing packs, but I also have stuff I created myself. For example, you guys may be familiar with this. This is used in Quality Time with Nick. It's a keyed picture of Nick. I also have one of myself down here. Old picture from like 2008, but it's keyed, so I can use it in any sort of GFX I'm doing. I also have montages, which is basically projects that I'm working on. A lot of these are old projects that I worked on, but they're here. For some reason, they should be deleted, but they're not. And I also have my clips. I also have, lots of things that are here for, of course, editing. I also have uncommutated gameplay, etc., etc. And whenever I have any footage that needs to be edited, I get it from there and I bring it into Final Cut. Then in Final Cut, I have multiple projects, and a lot of people say all they use for their workflow is Final Cut. That's fantastic. But here's the problem, alright? I have an edit here, I have my Nazi Zombies footage here, and I have my build videos here. So imagine if I had a gaming build going on, I'd have all my gaming build parts in here. I decided not to go into the internet and find parts because it would take too long. But I have all these different things, and then I also have like cinematics. I also have intros. I also have sound effects. All of these files, these folders, get mixed up very easily. It's very difficult to keep everything organized. Imagine if I had all of my other series in here. Imagine if I had Indie Interlude. Imagine if I had Tony Talks. Imagine if I had the commentary. Imagine how quick all of this would get very disorganized. I use Final Cut Pro only for what Final Cut Pro is being used for, which is editing, intense editing. Things like cutting up footage and adding in special effects, cutting up footage and adding in slow motion. That's where Final Cut Pro comes into place, where you need it. And once I finish all of that editing, I take that rough footage that I put together, and then I go into post-production. I simply share, I export it, and I export it, as I showed before, in RAW, basically full-on huge 5 GB file, because that allows me to have the best quality going into iMovie. So I export it, and I export it actually to iMovie, which allows me to send it straight over to iMovie in an organized fashion. And then it comes in here. And here you'll notice I have a bunch of projects prepared that have the pretty much finished title project of the upload that I'll be doing. Some of these are just made up because I didn't want to give away any spoilers to future videos. A couple of them are spoilers, but you know, whatever, doesn't matter. So what I do is I take all of this footage that I import and I bring it into here. And here's the raw, you know, what I created for the $13,000 build. And you can see it just jumps in, no fade, nothing, and then at the end it fades out, right? Now, the reason why I use iMovie is because A, it allows me to organize all of my video series very well, and B, when I come into here and I decide to, you know, get ready to export this, I could put in the machinima intro. I have all my intros here. I have an outro here. If this was a zombies video, I'd put the outro in. If I didn't like the way the outro cut, I can cut it a little bit and cut it, you know, cut some of it out. I could split the clip up. If I didn't like the coloration on the video, I could change the colors a little bit. I could change around the saturation and things like that. I could change the audio levels. Sometimes you export out of Final Cut, and in Final Cut the audio levels seemed fine. You bring it into iMovie and you realize, oh, I missed something. It's an important thing to have post-production when you're handling multiple series, because you can't pay as close attention to one series in a group of series that are in one program. The more you separate your projects into different programs and different allocations, you have more dedicated time to focus on one project, if that makes sense. I actually used to have 2 Macs, and that was even better. I was able to have 1 Mac dedicated to 2 video series I do, 1 Mac dedicated to 3 video series I do, and have those separated perfectly. This also allows you to do some like post-production work with audio, for example. You can go ahead and add some audio onto the background, and it makes it much easier, in my opinion, than using Final Cut to do all the audio work. Because in Final Cut, I like to just focus on the edits, making the video look nice. Because I think that's what Final Cut is best for. I think iMovie is good enough for audio editing. And speaking of audio, another thing that Final Cut is really good for, that's way better, or not Final Cut, iMovie is really good for, and it's way better than Final Cut, is recording commentaries. Because if I take this voiceover thing, which is just a simple click over here, it counts down. So now I can prepare myself to do the commentary, and it's much easier to record, in my opinion, and it's much easier to screw up as I click around like a maniac. Alright, let me delete that. So, basically, what I'm trying to show you guys is that iMovie and any other program is a good tool to have for post-production. This is commonly seen in a lot of professional editing from people who go to film school. There's a very good example called After Effects. A lot of people use After Effects as their full-on workplace. They do their edits in After Effects, they do post-production in After Effects, and they export. That's silly. Why do you think the Adobe suite, you know, Adobe CS6 or CS5, includes Premiere? Premiere is a post-production editing service. After Effects is meant for editing the footage to add in special effects, to add in, you know, sorts of color corrections and things like that. The point of Premiere is so you can do the finite editing that allows you to have a finished product that looks professional. iMovie is the equivalent of Premiere for the simpler Mac editing lifestyle. And to me, it is a perfect post-production software, and that's why I use it for post-production. It also helps organize workflow, once again, through all your files and the way you upload, and it just works better for how I work. I think I mentioned in my tutorial that this is something that you don't need to do, but it's something I do. I hate that a lot of people turned around and said that the iMovie thing is useless, because the fact is it isn't useless. For some people it does work well, and that's why I included it as a suggestion. If it doesn't work for you, and you simply don't have the time to deal with iMovie, that's fine. That's your prerogative. And I also noticed a lot of people said that iMovie Uploader isn't that great. As in, when you go into the iMovie Uploader, and you try to change around certain things, and you try to put in thumbnails, it doesn't work. Well, there's a very simple solution to that. You go to Share, Export Movie, you export it out 1080p or whatever, export it to your desktop, and then you upload it to YouTube. It's a very simple process. You really don't need to deal with the YouTube uploader directly. Same way on Final Cut, you don't need to deal with the YouTube uploader. In fact, I really don't even like the YouTube uploader on Final Cut. That's just my opinion. But anyway, that is pretty much it. That is my quick little montage editing tutorial, which is basically just about workflow and organization of files. It was also just, respond to a few of the people who said that iMovie is useless, which it isn't. It actually is very useful for a lot of things. And if you're not using everything on your computer, even if, you've moved on, quote unquote, to Final Cut Pro, you're not really using all the tools that a real editor, a real person who knows what they're doing with editing would. You need to use all the tools and resources you have to make the best editing, the best footage, and the best video content for your channel as possible. And that's very important, to utilize all tools that you have in order to create the best videos you can. And that's a very important motto that I've lived by and a lot of other editors live by. And I hope you guys, gain something from this. So that's pretty much it. I'm Tony. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and comment, and I'll see you guys next time.